The story begins with a world that has long been shaped by shifting alliances, hidden power struggles, and a constant tug-of-war between nations determined to maintain control and others striving to break free from centuries of dominance. In the heart of Africa, this struggle has found one of its most symbolic stages, as voices of resistance rise against the structures that once defined an entire continent's place in the global order. For decades, Africa was seen as a land to be exploited, a region where resources were extracted and where leaders who attempted independence often faced destabilization. But in recent years, something profound has been happening. A wave of change is sweeping across the region, and one of the key epicenters of that change is Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, a country that many outsiders may once have dismissed as just another small, landlocked nation, has begun to capture worldwide attention. Under the leadership of its current rulers, the nation has declared boldly that it will not remain a puppet to external powers. It is a defiant voice in a world where silence was once expected. What makes this moment in history so remarkable is not only the courage shown by leaders in the country, but also the way ordinary citizens are embracing the idea of sovereignty and self-determination. Across the cities and villages, people are demanding that Africa stand up for itself, that Africa no longer be dictated to, and that Africa finally begin to define its own destiny. The story told here is not just about political maneuvering, but about the raw emotions of people who have been denied dignity for too long. For many, the resistance is personal. It is about the memory of ancestors who were taken away as slaves, the decades of colonial rule that stripped away culture and identity, and the lingering grip of neo-colonialism that has sought to control everything from politics to the economy. These wounds, though old, have never fully healed. And today, they fuel a determination to break free once and for all. At the center of this narrative is a leader who has become both a symbol and a target. He stands before the world with a calm but fiery presence, his words carrying the weight of generations of Africans who longed for a voice that would not tremble in front of foreign powers. He speaks of dignity, of justice, and of the right of his people to live without foreign troops patrolling their streets or multinational corporations draining their soil. He does not speak with hatred, but with a conviction that unsettles those who benefit from the old order. His defiance is dangerous, not only to himself, but to the entire structure of global control. And yet, that is what makes his leadership resonate so deeply with those who listen. The streets of Ouagadougou, the capital, have seen an energy not felt in decades. Crowds gather not because they are forced, but because they believe. They wave flags, sing songs of liberation, and hold up placards with words that challenge the international order. They are young, vibrant, and unafraid because for them, the future is no longer a distant dream, but a fight worth waging today. In their voices, one hears the echoes of liberation movements from the past. The passion of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary who once tried to lead Burkina Faso into independence from exploitation, still lingers like a spirit among them. But unlike the past, when voices of freedom were silenced with bullets and coups, today these voices are amplified by social media, by a world that is more connected, and by a growing global frustration with the imbalance of power. But this fight is not without its dangers. Every declaration of independence brings with it threats, both visible and hidden. Foreign powers watch carefully, weighing their options. They have interests in the region, interests that are tied to gold, uranium, and other precious resources buried deep in the soil of Burkina Faso. These interests are not easily surrendered, and history has shown that those who challenge them often find themselves facing internal division, military pressure, or economic sanctions. The people know this, and yet they do not back down. For them, living under domination is no longer acceptable. Beyond Burkina Faso, the ripple effects are spreading. Other African nations inspired by this defiance are beginning to reconsider their own positions. Conversations that were once whispered are now being spoken aloud. Should foreign bases remain on African soil? Should deals that leave the continent poorer while enriching outsiders continue to be accepted any longer? Should leaders who betray their people in exchange for foreign support be tolerated any longer? These questions are being asked not just in political chambers, but in marketplaces, in schools, and in homes. The continent is awakening to the possibility of a different future, and Burkina Faso has become a spark that lights this fire. International reactions are mixed. Some nations watch with fear, knowing that if Africa truly rises, the balance of global power will shift forever. Others, particularly those who have long challenged Western dominance, see opportunity in aligning with this new wave of independence. They extend hands of friendship, offering cooperation in place of exploitation. But alliances in geopolitics are rarely simple, and every offer comes with hidden costs. The challenge for African nations now is to chart a path that does not simply replace one master with another, but rather builds a future where sovereignty is real. What makes this story so compelling is the blend of defiance and vulnerability. Burkina Faso is not a rich nation. It does not have the massive armies, the nuclear weapons, or the global financial systems that larger powers possess. What it has is courage. And sometimes courage is enough to shake the foundations of the world. Every speech delivered, every protest held, every declaration of independence chips away at the old order, reminding the powerful that their dominance is not eternal. History has shown that empires rise and fall, and often it is the smallest voices that begin the loudest changes. As the sun sets over the dusty streets of Burkina Faso, one cannot help but feel the weight of history unfolding. Children run barefoot, unaware that their laughter is echoing through a country at the crossroads of destiny. Farmers till their fields, knowing that the soil they work is not just dirt, but the source of a struggle that has global implications. Mothers hold their babies tighter, hoping that the future they grow up in will be one of dignity, not domination. And leaders in quiet rooms lit by single lamps write speeches that may one day be quoted in history books as the words that began a new chapter for Africa. This moment, fragile yet powerful, is more than just politics. It is about humanity reclaiming its right to be free. It is about voices long silenced, now roaring with pride. It is about a continent reminding the world that it cannot be ignored or controlled forever. And whether or not Burkina Faso succeeds in resisting the pressures arrayed against it, the impact of its defiance has already changed the narrative. Africa is no longer a passive participant in global affairs. It is standing, it is speaking, and it is demanding respect. The journey ahead will be long and filled with obstacles. There will be victories and setbacks, moments of triumph and times of deep sorrow. But through it all, the seed of change has been planted. That seed will grow, watered by the courage of those who refuse to bow down, nourished by the memory of those who came before, and protected by the determination of a new generation that knows its worth. Burkina Faso may be a small country, but today it carries the weight of an entire continent's hopes. And so, the story continues. A story of courage against all odds, of dignity against humiliation, of freedom against oppression. It is a story that belongs not just to Burkina Faso, but to every corner of the world where people dare to dream of a life free from domination. And as the world watches, one truth becomes undeniable. Once a people have found their voice, no power on earth can silence it forever.